What if the entire vocabulary of the 1980s guitar hero, the two-handed fireworks, the swept avalanches of notes, the techniques that a generation of famous shredders would build their careers on, was already fully formed on a progressive rock album in 1971? Played by a shy man who sat down to perform, barely moved, and was trying to do something that had nothing whatsoever to do with speed. His name is Steve Hackett. He was the lead guitarist of Genesis in their classic years. And if you have ever marveled at the fretboard gymnastics of the guitar gods who came after, you have been marveling, without knowing it, at a language he was writing while they were still children. This is the first in a series about how the great players actually do what they do. And I am starting here with Hackett, for a reason that goes to the heart of everything this series is about. Because his story is the perfect proof that technique is never the point, and that the people who understand that are almost never the ones who get the credit. Let me establish the fact first plainly, because it is a strong claim and it needs to survive scrutiny. There is a technique called tapping. And if you are not a guitarist, here is what it is. Normally, a guitarist makes a note by pressing a string down with the left hand and striking it with the right. Tapping throws that out. Instead, the player hammers the fingers of the right hand directly onto the fretboard, so that both hands are now up on the neck, producing notes by impact alone, and this lets a guitarist play cascades of notes far faster and far smoother than any pick could ever manage. A liquid, flowing rush of sound. For most people in the world, this technique has one name attached to it: Eddie Van Halen, whose 1978 explosion onto the scene made tapping the defining sound of the next decade, and made him, rightly, a legend. But Van Halen's first record came out in 1978. Steve Hackett was putting tapping onto Genesis records in 1971, 7 years earlier, on the album Nursery Crime, on the song The Musical Box, and again on The Return of the Giant Hogweed, and again 2 years after that on Selling England by the Pound. This is not a fan's wishful reinterpretation. Van Halen himself credited Hackett as an influence. The man who made the technique famous pointed back down the line to the quiet man in Genesis and said, in effect, he was there first. Now I want to be honest with you about the edges of this, because the difference between this page and a page that traffics in legend is that I will tell you where the story gets complicated. The true origin of tapping is genuinely murky, and I am not going to pretend otherwise to make a cleaner tale. Other players have claims. Joe Satriani has said he was doing it before Van Halen too, after seeing a guitarist from the band Wishbone Ash do something like it on television. And isolated instances of the idea flicker in and out of guitar history going back much further, because it is the kind of thing a curious player stumbles onto. So I will not tell you that Steve Hackett invented tapping out of nothing, because nobody can honestly say that. What I will tell you is what is actually true and actually remarkable, which is that Hackett was one of the very first to commit it to record, years before anyone else was building whole passages out of it. That he treated it not as a trick, but as a language, and that the man who carried that language to the world credited him for it. That is a smaller claim than the internet usually makes, and it is unassailable, and it is enough. But the fact of who did it first is not the interesting part. The interesting part, the part that makes Hackett the right man to open a series about musical technique, is why he did it. Because the reason is the exact opposite of what you would assume, and it overturns everything the technique later came to mean. Hackett did not develop tapping in order to play fast. He developed it in order to play Bach. He has told the story many times, and it is always the same. He was a young man in his parents' house trying to work out a phrase from Bach's toccata and fugue, a piece written for the pipe organ, and he was frustrated. Because the shape of that music, the way the notes flow and leap, is natural on a keyboard and awkward and clumsy on a guitar fretboard. And he had an idea. If he stopped trying to play across the strings in the normal way, and instead hammered the notes onto a single string with both hands, he could use the fretboard the way an organist uses a keyboard. And suddenly, the flowing, cascading, keyboard-shaped music became possible. Tapping was not born as a way to be the fastest gun in the West. It was born as a way to make a guitar sound like a church organ. And the same is true of the other technique people credit him with pioneering, the one called sweep picking, which is the swept waterfall rush you hear when a guitarist plays an arpeggio so smoothly the individual notes blur into a single gesture. To a non-musician, it sounds like pure velocity, showing off. The athlete's flourish. Hackett got it from Bach as well, and he describes it in terms that could not be less athletic. He compares it to a violinist rocking the bow across the strings. One continuous motion producing a sweep of notes rather than a series of separate plucks. He was not chasing speed. He was chasing the sound of a baroque string instrument. The long, unbroken line of a bowed phrase, and sweep picking was how he stole that sound for the guitar. So the two techniques that would define the shred metal of the following decade, the vocabulary that 1,000 guitarists would use to sound as fast and aggressive and superhuman as possible, were both invented by a gentle progressive rock musician trying to make his electric guitar sound like the instruments of the 17th and 18th centuries, like an organ, like a violin, like anything except an electric guitar. This is the whole thesis of the series in a single man, and it is why I began with him. Technique, in the hands of an artist, is never about technique. It is always a means to a sound, a color, an emotion that could not be reached any other way. Hackett wanted a specific feeling, the flowing sacred grandeur of Bach, and the fretboard would not give it to him. So he invented a way to force the guitar to do something it was not built to do. The speed was a side effect. He noticed, of course, that his new method also let him play absurdly fast, and he has joked that he realized he could be the fastest gun in the West for about 5 minutes. But the speed was never the goal. The goal was the tone, the character, the thing the listener feels. And this is the exact quality that his more famous airs, for all their brilliance, tended to lose. When tapping and sweep picking passed into the vocabulary of 1980s metal, they very often became what they had never been for Hackett. An end in themselves, a display of athletic prowess, notes for the sake of the sheer astonishing quantity of notes. The airs kept the method and threw away the reason. They inherited the how and lost the why. And the why was the only part that mattered. And there is a second, quieter technique of Hackett's that proves the point even better. Because it is the opposite of flashy, and almost nobody can name it. And yet, it may be the most emotional thing he does. Listen to the way certain of his notes do not seem to begin. A guitar note normally has an attack, the little percussive tick of the pick or the finger striking the string the moment the note is born. Hackett learned to remove that. Using the guitar's volume control and the sustaining power of his amplifier, he could make a note swell up out of pure silence, fading in from nothing so that there is no strike, no attack, no evidence that a hand was involved at all. And the guitar stops sounding like a guitar and starts sounding like something breathing, a voice, a wind instrument, a cello drawn slowly across a bow. This is sometimes called a volume swell. And it is not fireworks. It is the opposite of fireworks. It is a way of making the instrument disappear so that only the feeling is left. It is the same project as the tapping and the sweeping, arriving from the other direction. Make the guitar not sound like a guitar. Reach the emotion that the ordinary instrument cannot reach, whether he is playing impossibly fast or impossibly slow. Hackett is always doing the same single thing, which is trying to smuggle a sound that lives in some other, older, more expressive instrument into the body of an electric guitar. So when you hear a modern guitarist unleash a torrent of tapped and swept notes, and the internet tells you the man who invented that was Eddie Van Halen, hold both truths at once, because both are true. Van Halen took the language further than anyone, made it explosive and joyful and his own, and earned every bit of his legend. And the language he took was already there, written years earlier by a seated, unshowy Englishman who was not trying to be fast at all, who was trying to make his guitar sing a Bach fugue, and who has spent his life watching the vocabulary he helped write become famous in other hands. He was the connective figure, the one who did the quiet foundational work while louder men reaped the recognition. And if that pattern sounds familiar to anyone who has followed this page, it should, because it is the same pattern that runs through the whole history of this music. The people who invent the language are rarely the people who get remembered for speaking it. If you want to go deeper into how the great players actually build the sounds you love, this is the first of a series. And there's more coming, so follow the page, and you will not miss the next one. But the heart of this first episode is a reversal that should change the way you hear every guitar solo from now on. So I will leave you with the question Steve Hackett's whole career quietly asks. If the techniques we praise as the ultimate display of speed and power were invented by a man who was only ever trying to reach a deeper feeling, then what exactly are we admiring when we admire technique? And how much of what moves us was built by someone whose name we never learned? Where art does not console, it autopsies.